A former attorney who pleaded guilty in an alleged staged car crash scheme testifies he filed multiple fraudulent crash lawsuits over several years. Tan Trung is live outside federal court, where the attorney said many of his cases came through defendant Jason Giles.
Well, Meg, former personal injury attorney Danny Patrick Keating spent more than 3 hours on the witness stand today explaining to the court how going back to 2017, as you mentioned, he had filed multiple fraudulent crash lawsuits and that many of his cases came to him through Jason Giles, one defendant in this federal trial. Former stunt driver turned personal injury attorney Vanessa Mata, attorney Jason Giles, the firms they worked for, and an alleged co-conspirator all face multiple charges including fraud and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors say Mata and Giles were part of multi-year insurance fraud schemes in which drivers would purposely slam into 18-wheelers and then sue for big payouts. On the stand Thursday, Andrea Albert, an attorney representing truck companies involved in such accidents, said she began noticing a pattern in 2016. Members of two local families kept coming up as plaintiffs, and the accidents happened near one truck stop near New Orleans East. By 2018, Albert testified, it was, quote, off to the races. Albert said the crashes and cases kept coming, and she became suspicious. And the King law firm handling the plaintiff's lawsuits should have been too, because she eventually shared her suspicions with the firm. On cross-examination, attorneys defending Jason Giles in the King law firm where Giles works asked Albert, quote, so you're saying they knew the accidents were staged collisions? Albert replied, they had 20 lawsuits at one truck stop where the plaintiffs were claiming the same thing. They knew what they were filing. An FBI investigation into the alleged slammer scheme has led to the indictments of dozens of people. On Thursday, the defense asked Andrea Albert if she was working with years of hindsight and knowledge that was not available back then. Here's Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti.
What they're trying to do, which is what they tried to do in their opening statements, is we agree that all this stuff happened on the street, but the lawyers sitting here were not aware of it. They're trying to get that distance between the defendants and the rest of the bad behavior.
Later in the testimony here, Patrick Keating testified that he had paid thousands of dollars to many drivers coming from the Houma Thibodeau area to purposely slam their cars into 18-wheelers. He's previously pled guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud in this alleged scheme. His testimony is expected to resume tomorrow morning. Reporting live from federal court, Tan Trung, Fox 8 Local First.